Alright, what is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? So, this weekend is PAX East, apparently, and there are some Saturday spoilers, which is atypical of what Magic tends to do when there's not a special event. They just usually spoil things Monday through Friday, or rather, midnight Monday morning to Friday or Thursday, you know what I mean. Anyways, there's a couple that I missed that were actually spoiled yesterday that weren't on Daily MTG, so I'm going to throw those out there so you guys can see them if you haven't already. Although I'm sure a lot of you actually keep up with the spoilers maybe even quicker than I do. But I thought I'd give my 10 cents and let you know. So the first one we're going to talk about that was spoiled yesterday was Mana Confluence, which is a land. It has tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So it's got sweet art, I like that a lot, and I'm expecting this card to be a chase rare for a while. I think people are overvaluing the card. I think paying 1 life every time you want to use a card and there's no option to use it for colorless is going to be hard to use in standard. And City of Brass is already a modern and that doesn't see a lot of play. But this will definitely see Legacy play, it'll see Commander play, it's fine. It's actually usually better than City of Brass, but not always. So when is it better? Well, if someone taps your land like with Rashad and Port, or if they use like a tap target permanent effect on your land, and then you have to take damage with City of Brass, because City of Brass deals 1 damage to you every time it's tapped. With this, that won't happen. You actually have to use the mana ability in order to pay the life. So when is this worse than City of Brass? Well, if there's an effect that says, people cannot pay life to use abilities. There's that Angel of Jubilation. Not that will come up too often, but it's something that could come up. Also, with City of Brass, you can tap it for the if you want to lightning bolt your opponent and you're at 1. If you're at 1 life, your opponent's at 3. You can tap it for red mana, and then before the trigger resolves, you can lightning bolt your opponent and kill them. With this, you couldn't do that. You would just go to 0 and you would die. So that's one of the worst things about it. It has sweet art. It's another City of Brass, so that's a good thing. 5-color decks are going to want this kind of effect, so they will have another one. That's good for them. So let's move on to the next one. Alright, this is the next one we missed. Dictate of Karametra. So I guess there's a Dictate cycle, which are enchantments based on the god of that color from the whatever set they've decided to pick from. I guess Karametra was the last set, but then they have Dictate of Crewfix, which is this set, so I'm not really sure what the Dictate cycle is, but this is 3 green enchantment with flash. Whenever a player taps for land for mana, they add 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. So it's another mana doubler, which is nice. I mean, EDH loves those kinds of effects. It has flash, so you can do it on your opponent's end step rather than tapping out on turn 5 and then just watching it get blown up by Disenchant or something like that. If you have Gauntlet of Power and you play turn 5, your opponent just untap naturalize it. It kind of sucks. With this, you can do the end step, so at least if your opponent wants to kill it, they're going to leave mana open or just predict that you have it, which isn't really possible. And I like that if you have a red-green land, if you tap it for green or red, it can produce the other mana. It's not strictly better than Mana Reflection, because Mana Reflection costs 6, but you can double Soul Ring mana, you can double mana from Gilded Lotus, things like that. This only works off of land. But it has flash, it's a little bit cheaper, and it's just another thing that's in the EDH arsenal. I like it. I expect to see it a lot. I don't think it's going to be played in standard, so it should be pretty cheap rare, which is nice. Alright, this is the last one that we missed. This one's called Worst Fears, and what's your worst fear? Another Mindslaver variant. So you control target player in that player's next turn, exile Worst Fears. This is a card that I'm not happy to see printed. It's obviously not going to be very good in Standard or Modern or Legacy. It's just an EDH card. And for 8 mana, Mono Black can easily make 8 mana. I guess a lot of people don't really play Mindslaver. I don't know if it's the stigma. This will probably be a junk mythic, so it's probably going to be less than $1 on, at least on MTGO. I don't know what mythics tend to go for when they don't see play on paper. This will probably be a 50-cent mythic, so anyone who wants to play Mono Black can just throw this in their deck and double up. And at least the nice thing about it is you have to exile it. so you can't recur it with any kind of recursion effects. There's that horsemanship guy from Portal 3 Kingdoms, I think he is. He's in Master's Edition, but he lets you recur things. You can't recur it, which is nice. But yeah, another Mindslaver, everyone's favorite thing, and at least this one doesn't come with set your opponent's life total to 10, unlike Soren, Soren Markov Planeswalker. So that's the last one that I missed from yesterday, and then we're going to move on to the PAX East Spoilers that were just announced, and there's an exciting one, so here. Alright, King Macar, the Gold Curse, 2 black, 2/3, legendary creature human. Sees Inspired. Inspired sees some, it sees its effect again. Whenever King Macar, the Gold Curse, becomes untapped, you may exile target creature. If you do, put a colorless artifact token named Gold onto the battlefield. It has sacrificed this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So it's cool, we saw that card Guild. It's a 4 mana sorcery that lets you exile a creature, and you get that gold artifact that you can use for colorless or any colored mana later. So he plays off that. He's got a cool flavor. If you see, he's like enshrined in all these gold things, and they look like they're things that he liked, like his daughter or something's in the background. It's like a pet of his, like a cat. So it looks like he was greedy at one point, and now everything he has is covered in gold. I don't know where this comes from Greek mythology. It's not a story I'm familiar with, but it's kind of cool. The only thing that I don't like the flavor about is that you may exile target creatures, so if your opponent doesn't have any creatures, you don't have to rack your own creatures, which makes sense, because if your opponent had no creatures and you want to attack with this guy, you really couldn't, because you'd have to exile your own creature later. But yeah, he can basically machine gun you down to your opponent's creatures. I don't think he'll be excellent. I think he'll be okay, but you're going to need a empty board. Maybe you could do a Voltron King Macar with a bunch of equipment. That way he gets through and he doesn't just straight out die. He's only a 2/3. If he was a 3 mana, he would be, I think, a lot better at 3 mana. Not standard playable, not legacy or modern playable, but he'll see some EDH play. I feel like he's one of those cards you'll see a lot at first and he'll kind of just die off. I noticed that with a lot of the most recent generals. People just stop playing them, like Neferox from M13. People played it a lot at first and stopped. Same with Yeva, the green one from M13. People tried it and they just realized the effect wasn't good enough for EDH. But Yeva's actually not that bad. Anyways, there he is. Curse and Gold. Let me know what you guys think about these cards. I'm excited to see what you think as well. So definitely leave a comment. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so I don't know if there's any Hydra lovers out there, but they've made another Hydra. You can make almost Hydra tribal at this point. So Hydra Broodmaster is 6 mana, has monstrosity. So this set seems to have a little bit of each old mechanic that Athreos and Born of the Gods has thrown out there, but they actually have a new one, which we'll get to in the next card. Monstrosity X, you have to pay double, so it's kind of similar to Polykronos. When he becomes monstrous, put X, X, X. A lot of X's on this card. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 X's, and you said 7, 7. I guess there's only 6 if you don't count the reminder text. Either way, it's pretty cool. So it becomes monstrous, put X, X, X green Hydra creature tokens on the battlefield. So let's say you've got 5 mana, you can put 2 Hydras. Not the best, they're just little baby Hydras. If you have, you're going to need 5, then 7. Put 3 3/3s, and then you're going to need 9. Put 4 4. So it gets exponentially better. This is a kind of interesting card like a Zeusa deck, because if you like flood out with a Zeusa and you've got all the mana doublers out there and you've got like 50 mana, you can make a lot of Hydras. It'll be a cool card. I don't think it's standard playable. It's basically a limited card and EDH card, just like almost everything that they print nowadays, with the Chase Mythics and Trace Rares being insanely overpowered, and then they become expensive. But that's good. It's a good card for EDH because it's going to be cheap and it's going to be fun to play with. So there it is. Alright, so we got our next one before we get to the big banger of the crowd. Polymorphous Rush. So it's an ode to polymorph. If you've ever seen the ode, if you've seen Polymorph or Mass Polymorph. So it's kind of cool art. Strive. So this costs 1 blue more to cast for each target beyond the first. So you pay 3 mana to target 1 creature, and if you want to target multiple creatures, you have to pay 1 in a blue for each additional creature. Choose a creature on the battlefield. Any number of target creatures you control become a copy of that creature until end of turn. So if you want to copy one of your creatures as an opponent's creature until end of turn, you have to pay 3. If you want to copy 2, it becomes tedious. I don't think it'll be that great. There's a card like this, like Mirror. I think it's called like Mirror Gallery. It's a Simic card. I think it hasn't seen a ton of play. I'm not really sure of the name. I didn't play with those cards a lot. You'll see them occasionally. I think you'll see this occasionally. I just don't think it'll be that great. You don't get the enter battlefield effects, which most creatures nowadays are known for their enter the battlefield effects, unless your opponent has like Primeval Titan's banned, so you can't even do that anymore. Any kind of Titan, I guess, would be good as long as your opponent has it or you have one. So if you want to make a bunch of Frost Titans, I guess you could, but I'm not sure what you would use this in. Maybe a Talrand deck could take advantage of this because they make all 2/2 flyers into like your opponent's best creature. Just as if Talrand needed more things, but yeah, this could be good in a Talrand deck. I would see that. And then let's get on to the final one. So there he is, Athreos, God of Passage, 1 white black. So he's cheap. He's one of the 3 mana gods, and 3 mana is really good to have as your general. Indestructible, legendary enchantment creature god, just like all of them. As long as devotion to white and black is less than 7, he's not a creature. And whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent plays 3 life. So that's a scary ability. People are saying it's not that good. People are saying like, oh my god, it's the best thing since sliced bread. He's going to be problematic. If you don't have exiling effects and your opponent has this as their general with a bunch of white-black cards, and a lot of them are actually pretty good, you're going to take a lot of damage. It would be okay. I'm not really sure how good this is in EDH. I think it'll be good, but I don't think it'll be insane. Maybe 4-player definitely gets better because you have multiple opponents to target, or you can just focus it down on one player and use it as like a political card. Like if you wrath me, I'm going to send all my damage at you, and then slowly drain out that player. I'm afraid to play against him because I don't know. It seems like a really good ability. It's also a Punisher ability where you let your opponent pick, which is not always ideal. I think most of the time, early on in the game, you're just going to let all of your opponent's creatures go to the graveyard if you need to. But later on in the game, if you're lower life, if you've got other drain life mechanics like Obsidat, this will probably be good in an Obsidat deck, and white-black has plenty of ways to drain you out, so it fits the theme of white-black. I was actually surprised Athreos, the white-black deck, was the God of Passage. I mean, maybe not, because both of those have to deal with like reanimation, and that's the God of the Underworld. But I was thinking blue-black made a little more sense since you have to cross the River Nyx and Grecan lore. What do you call it? Yeah, I don't know what the story is, but blue-black made more sense because it's a river and it's like Underworld. Not just my opinion, but he's exciting. I think he'll be really expensive, at least, especially at first, because people are going to want to play him in Standard, maybe Modern. Definitely in Standard. Like, you imagine a lot of the mono black decks already splash a scry land, like one of the temples, just for the scry ability, so they can just free splash like the temples with a few godless shrines in mono black, and then just add this guy. So now if you kill your opponent's pack rat, you can just get it back unless you pay 3 life. Same thing with Desecration Demon, and what's the other? The 3/1 Intimidate guy who steals a white or a green creature. Yeah. I think black decks are going to be a lot more stronger. I can't even talk right now. I've been studying all day for an exam. But it should be cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this guy. I've seen a lot of different opinions on him. I think he'll be solid. I don't think he'll be overpowered in EDH, but Standard, I think he'll be good as well. So, thanks for watching. Leave a comment and maybe a like if you liked the video. Oh, and one more thing we forgot. There's an M15 spoiler, as you can see on the screen. Genesis Hydra. If you notice, M15, if you haven't heard already, is going to have a new card frame and new text. If you notice the text, new font right here, Genesis Hydra, and this right here is a different font. That's a little interesting. I'm not a fan of the card frame. I think it looks rather awkward. It's going to be like a little hologram down here if it's like a rare or mythic rare. And there's more information down here, which is going to help avoid counterfeiting, because counterfeiting has been a big problem with Magic in general over the years. But let's look at the card. It's another Hydra, just like I said, Hydra Tribal. It has X and 2 green. When you cast this, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent with a converted mana cost X or less from among them on the battlefield. Then shuffle the rest into your library. And he enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. I wonder why they didn't just make him an XX, since X is here. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind that is. Wouldn't that be easier than... I guess they're counter... Yeah, that makes sense, because they read +1/+1 counters instead. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Magic has a lot of design quirks that I'm not completely familiar with. It's a cool card. I don't think it'll be broken. It'll be okay in EDH, because it'll let you get, like, maybe even a Planeswalker, or even just a land. It'll ramp a land, and the bigger it gets, the better chance that you have of getting something that you want. So, there it is. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.